Morning, everyone. Uh, my name is Winston Mphahlele. I work within the IT Services Department at the Mphahlele University of Technology. And today I just want to give you one of the solutions or product we've been working on for quite some years now, 2 years going. And it's called the selection and admission system. So a selection and admission system, as I said, developed by the VUT to ease the selection and admission process of students wishing to enroll at the Mphahlele University of Technology. So just to go through it, sorry about this. Oh, yeah, it's on. Business mode, okay. Yes. You can cancel and do it again. This one. Can you go next? Still okay. Sorry, still not going. Yeah, yeah, no problem. Okay, sorry about that. Just have to go through the manual process then. Just going to give you an overall background of our current admission process, or sorry, the legacy admission process, what we used to go through, and just to go through it as such. So we normally get an application form. So this doesn't really matter. It can be a hand-in, can be something we just posted, or it can be an online application. And after that, most of the time, the application form will be received by our registrars, and then they're going to be captured on our ERP system. From there, we take it to a respective personnel who is responsible for approving or rejecting the applications for students. Once that person receives them, you're gonna go through the verification process. So the verification process is the most complex process because the personnel responsible there, he has to look at the matric results for the student and APS score, remaining classes as well. So the admission requirement, the space, the quota. So we look at those. If they do meet the minimum requirements and we're still having space and all these kind of things, the student will be approved or rejected based on that. So that will be the process as such. And submit those application forms. Then we let the student to update the admission status as such. If you are approved or you're rejected or you're on the waiting list as such. They've been admitted or they've been rejected or they're still waiting on the waiting list as such. Okay. So we have with the legacy admission process, one of them includes that we were forced to take applications on the first come first serve basis, meaning that whoever is applying first, we just have to approve that person and take him, because we're not sure if we're going to get applications as such, and we are also not sure if that student, should I say, if he was a best performing student as such, or we can compare with different students as such. So whoever was applying first, we just take and approve or reject that person. We also have a shortfall of losing application forms. So because they were physically submitted to respective areas, some of them end up being lost. Poor turnaround time. So it takes time for the HODs to process the paperwork. End up with a bunch of papers in your office, and you take around 2 to 3 weeks to process them, or even months, because they have a lot of time to do their approvals. Fraud and bribes. This was one of the things which was happening. You find that someone doesn't even meet their admission criteria to study at university, but because he knows a guy who knows a guy who knows the guy, I just put in some and then at the end I ended up being admitted at university. Human admission criteria. So this is one of the commonalities. You find that I didn't check all the conditions to see if the student meet the criteria. So you see this as we go on the next few slides. I have a snapshot of that as well. And one of the shortfalls is that we also capturing only approved applications. So if a student doesn't get captured on the ERP, that's one of the shortfalls. And this anonymous the statistical data. This is also based on the fact that you're only capturing approved applications. So if we are supposed to give a projection of how many applications do we really process in a year, you wouldn't really get an exact number as such. So it's also a complex. It also has a complex admission criteria. You also see this as we go on the snapshot of our admission criteria. Oversubscribing classes. So since it was a manual process, you don't really know how many students you approved or how many other students were approved by different HODs. Let's say, for example, we have 2 people approving for the same qualification. At the end of the day, we might not end up having an exact number of how many students we approve or how many students we actually need for that current year or semester. And too much paperwork, of course. Poor applications. This also leads to loss of those applications as such. Late applications. This is one of the things we're experiencing in South Africa. Universities, you find that students want to apply in January since they have their matric results. So that's one of the biggest problems we're experiencing as well. Verification of matric results. This also leads to a lot of paperwork, because for each and every application who applies at the institution, we need to verify results if they are not fraudulent or not, all those kind of things. So it's also a lengthy process, and it was one of the shortfalls as well, since it's paper based. So was to provide a solution for our clients. And one of the most, let's say, commonalities or our strongest goals is to build something which is robust, meaning that it can deal with numerous data and large amounts of data as well. Scalable, build a product which is able to grow as time goes by. So you don't want to which you once developed, I think 2-3 years ago, and then can't cope with new changes as such. Cloud-based. Cloud-based products, as you know, the world is moving into cloud, mobile. And so we also, our goal is to develop or come with cloud-based solutions as well. Dynamic, meaning that our is actually customizable, meaning that if I take the product from one institution to a different institution, it should be able to meet the criteria of that institution without doing any coding. All you have to do is to log into the system, do your customization, and it should be able to adapt to the changes, and the engine should be good enough to handle all those kind of changes. And of course, we don't want any command line or console applications, so it should be easy to use. Even for first time experience, it should be a very easy solution as such. So that's our primary focus or goal when we came up with this product. Okay, so since we have all those goals, the question is, how do we really get all those goals at once? The answer to that is minimum viable product, MVP. So MVP is particularly building a product with the small but functional requirements as possible, right? So you particularly, and you want to render a solution for that problem. So you have an idea, you build a product, you measure it, and then you get some sort of data from that product as such. And with the product or what you wish to do with the product, and that would give you more ideas as well, and you generate and build those ideas into the same idea which you built initially. So this is a life cycle. It continues as much as possible. You build a small product, you keep on building it, and then up until you get a very huge or a useful product as such. So example, let's say we had a client who came to us and needs a car. You need to, or a transportation as such. So I go to, let's say for example, I want to go to VETS every day, and I need some source of transportation. Preferably, or ideally, I want a car. But then, what does this mean when we apply the MVP? So we don't do is to get a skateboard, because it's a source of transport and you need a transport from one location to the other, right? So we build a small product and it's functional, very important. It does to go, but it's not what you're actually looking for. So for this kind of a product, you won't have a happy client at all, right? And again, maybe you customize your skateboard and you still won't have so much happy client as such, right? Let's say now build a bicycle for you after a skateboard. Since we managed to get the skateboard, you were not that happy, and we're still working on another product. So we came with a bicycle, still not that much happy, but then it's still getting to you where it's still getting you to where you actually looking you want to get. Sorry. And then maybe try automate the process or automate the product, get a motorbike, right? So as well, you might get a happy client, but not that happy as well. And finally, we get to build you a car. So you can see it's a process. You don't really need to get the whole thing at once. You can build it bit by bit up until you get to where you're going. Like I said, you get an idea, you build on the idea, you learn from the idea, and then you get more ideas on that, right? And you wouldn't really want to do something like that, because building to get transportation as such. So that's really a very bad idea. Okay, so as IT services, since we met our client, we really got what they're looking for. What is it that we really require to do? So based on the background which I just gave you, the process, this is one of the things to overcome our shortfalls. So it's to automatically populate the metric results from the basic education file. Right? So this means that we also cut in the process of verifying the metric results. When you apply to provide your metric results, we can get that from the basic education file. So that also shortens the process. We should be able to accurately calculate the student's admission point score based on the metric results which you find from the basic education file. We should be able to accurately determine if an application qualifies for a desired qualification. So since you mentioned that you wish or you desire to study a specific qualification at our institution, we should be able to determine if you do really qualify or you don't really qualify. You can, based on the results we also got, your metric results. We should be able to automatically reject all applications which do not qualify, because that's a lengthy process. Most people, they just apply as institutions hoping that they get admitted, even though they know that they don't really qualify. Okay. We should be able to categorize applications by performance based on the APS. So this means that as a HOD or as a person who is responsible for admitting applicants at the institution, you only work with the best performing students. So instead of, applicants, instead of working with a first come, first serve, you actually work with the best performing. So even if someone applies after me, but he actually performed very good in metric, so preferably, we should be able to take that person before we can actually take you. So this actually also improves our academic performance as such. This I just mentioned. The HODs should be able to work with the best performing applicants fully online, anywhere, anytime. We should be able to check the application quotas so that we do not oversubscribe our classes. So you don't want to be at the end of the year when they ask you, or maybe in January when we do admissions, find that we admitted more students than we have classes allocated for them. Right? We should be able to give statistical data on our applications. This is one of the things which we didn't really have as such. And link to our self-check platform so that students can stay informed. Instead of notifying each and every student, they can go to our self-check platform and check if they were admitted or not. And this also enables them to track their applications throughout the whole process. Okay, requirements. I'm just going to show you what I mean when I say complex requirements and different requirements. So this is a admission requirements for information technology. I'm not sure if you can see, but I'll just read for you. It says some compulsory subjects, of which is English. You must have level 4 mathematics, level 4 or mathematics if no information technology, level 5 information technology, level 4 any other subject. Didn't really tell you what subject. They give you a level. Life orientation, they say maximum 3 and others 3 subjects as well. So this is non-specific. When someone says you must just come with any subject with a minimum, you don't really know what subjects you're looking for. This is one of the complex things which we had. We have too many conditions in our requirements. Just imagine a human being the personnel who is responsible for admissions has to check, okay, you didn't do maths, you did maths lead, so let me check the condition for if you didn't do maths or you didn't do information technology. What rules do I have to follow and all those kind of things. This actually leads to human errors in terms of admissions. Which subjects to take first? They tell you that they require 1 additional subject and they also require 3 additional subjects. They say 1 additional subject with level 4 and then 3 additional subjects with level 11. They must make a maximum of 11. So you don't really know which subjects to take if a student comes with the matric results. With different application point scores as well. So they will tell you that if you did mathematics, we need a different application point score. If you did mathematical literacy, we also need a different application point score. So this also leads to human errors as such. And another thing, additional 3 subjects with a minimum. So some they are very specific, other than the previous slide as you just saw. This ones they say 3 additional subjects with a minimum level of the specific score. So some are very specific and precise. And some qualifications, they just like excluding some subjects. For example, they say if you want to study this qualification, you do not need to do this. We don't need you do not need to do this matric subject. So that's also very complex. Since they're saying additional subjects, they will say you need 3 additional subjects, but including this subject as such. As you can see here, they say 3 additional subjects, they must make a point score of 12, but you must exclude life orientation. So these are some of the complex requirements to meet as such. So having the requirements, having to know what we actually needed to do as such, we came up with a way to measure ourselves, our success factors. So we should have improved turnaround time, reduced paperwork, in-depth statistical reporting, and lastly, automated admission. So this 7 feature as such. Okay. Now, this is our infrastructure of how we came up with the application. We have CentOS as our platform for production and testing environments where we host our applications. We use Java as a programming language to code the application. MySQL is our database. Classfish for our web hosting. Prime Faces as our plugin, and also load balancing for a lot of traffic and processing. Okay, having said that, welcome to SAS, or Selection Admission System. So this is the product we came with, and this is the product we came with at the University of Technology. So one of the features which we didn't really have was statistical reporting, dashboarding reports. So from SAS directly, you could interpret a lot of things. If this can show, okay. So from this side, if your institution has numerous campuses, you can have your campuses this side and compare the applications. You can tell by just looking at the system, you can tell where you have most applicants, which campus have most acknowledged approved applications as such from the dashboard itself. On the right, you can have exact numbers of different campuses. I have 4 campuses here. I have Eastern, Secunta, Abington, and Vanderbilt Park. As you can see, Vanderbilt Park here, 26,344 applications. So that's a lot of applications. Just imagine if this paperwork and you have to go through 26,000 applications, verify each and every application. So that's a lot of processing. And also different campuses as well. So from the dashboard itself, you can tell different statistics by just looking at it. We have, so just gonna go back a bit. If you click on any of the campuses which you would like to have more information on it, you can have an in-depth report on that. So on each and such. So for example, Vanderbilt Park campus, it's having a Faculty of Applied and Computer Science, and those are the qualifications under the Faculty of Computer Science. The offering types, whether they are part-time, full-time. You can have their quotas, how many students were needed, how many students applied, how many students were approved, how many students meet the minimum requirements, how many students are rejected, how many are on the waiting list, what's the space remaining, all these kind of things. And of course, this is a downloadable report. And you also have your personal dashboard. So if you are only interested in one qualification or one campus, you can have that kind of a report on the system so that you don't really need to see the whole universe of what's going on. You can just see your qualification as a HOD or a dean. Okay, so this is the admission part. I'm just going to highlight a few factors here. The top part or just come a bit after. So what you have here, remember you work with the best performing. So the application itself, you only work with applications which meet the minimum requirements. The engine is smart enough to know that whether you meet the minimum requirements for that qualification. But it automatically rejects applications which do not meet the minimum criteria. And then you only work in applications. So you see the best performing students. As you can see, the guy on the left is good compared to the guy in the middle, and the guy in the middle is good compared to the guys on the right. And as well, you get to see other qualifications the applicant applied for. So you get a choice at the top. So you can see this guy, he applied for civil engineering, choice 1, but he also applied for biotechnology, choice 2, and is already acknowledged or is approved for biotechnology. So you get to make good decisions based on the other application status as well. So I wouldn't really approve someone who applies for choice 2 and is already being admitted on a different qualification as such. So this is as well good. Okay, moving along. Statistics information, while you are busy approving, you have real-time data. You can see what qualification you are working on. You can see what campuses are you working on and what offers are you working on. You can see your quota, how many students are you looking for. You can see how many did you approve so far. You can see your space remaining as such. And the ones which are still meeting the requirements. So here you have 67 meeting requirements and 26 spaces remaining. So obviously other students are going to be cut off as such. So these are our downloadable reports. You can download your approved applications, your rejected applications, your waiting list applications. And we also have logs. So for admin purposes, you can see who approved who on the system as well. And of course, I said it's dynamic. So if we decide to move it to a different university, just go into the system, put whatever requirements they need for a specific qualification, and the engine will kick in as soon as it finds an application. As well, you can manage your campuses, your qualifications. You can decide, we have this qualification at this campus, we have this qualification at a different campus. Let's say we're offering engineering full-time at this campus, we're offering engineering part-time on a different campus as such. So you can do all those dynamics. qualification progressions. This is something which I would like to give you more in depth on. So qualification progression is simply means what should happen if an application doesn't really meet the minimum requirements, or what should happen if an application meets the minimum requirements but the space is full. So you could also set the rules to say if you applied for engineering at this campus and the space is full, and the space is full, what should happen? So you can deflect it to a different campus and all those kind of things. And you manage your quotas as well. And you link your personnel with different qualifications. So if there is a HOT for approving only one qualification, you only link them with that specific qualification. And that should just be about it. Any questions? Yes.
For the learners that are upgrading their metric results,
Yes.
and then if you have to pull those results from the
Basic education.
basic education,
Yes.
and then what about the results that they acquired before? That is the first question. The second question that I'm having is that how will you deal with the students that are having second options? Like second option when they apply. For example, somebody could apply for engineering and then say second option is another qualification. So how will you deal with that?
Okay, so when you apply, because if I get you correct, you apply for engineering and you apply for, let's say, for example, IT as second choice. So two different personnel who are responsible for approving both engineering and IT. So let's say engineering was your first choice and IT was your second choice. So the engineer qualification for second choice. So if you get approved on the first choice, it's up for the IT personnel to actually approve you for the second choice, because you can see that you're already approved. Of course, you also want to give a student the freedom for choosing one of the two qualifications. I may say IT is my second choice, but at the end of the in January, when I rethink my choices, I say I actually want my IT instead of engineering.
Winston, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, no problem.
I'm sure he is available outside
Yes.
if you want to grab him and have some personal one-on-one time.